What we're going to cover next is AVI recording. The source engine can also record directly to AVI, so you don't have to weave all the individual frames together. This has some advantages and disadvantages, which I'll go over. AVIs are a standard video format, but they're really just a container. We just saved an AVI that has no compression at all. You may have heard of the word codec before. That's a term for the type of compression a format uses. So we can compress our AVIs with different kinds of codecs, and they'll still all be in the AVI format. So with that said, we're going to look at two different codecs in this tutorial. One is called the Huffy UV one, which is used for lossless encoding, meaning there's absolutely no quality loss when compressing. The other is XVID, which is lossy encoding, meaning there will be a little quality loss, but the size will be incredibly more efficient. There are many other codecs out there, but these both have good quality and have been around for a while, so they're compatible with capturing footage in source, so we'll learn them. Now, what are the pros and cons to encoding AVIs? I'll cover the positives first. The main advantage AVI encoding has is compression. With Huffy UV, you can sometimes save about twice the space by encoding with it and no quality loss. With XVID, you can save an incredible amount of space with very little quality loss. Another advantage AVI encoding has is that depending on your workflow, you can sometimes skip a step with processing your footage afterwards, so it could save you a little bit of time. Finally, the reason I use AVI encoding is because of the compression. It's the only sane way to do quality motion blur processing, which I'll cover in a later section. If you have plenty of extra hard drive space and don't plan on having any motion blur, you can stick with the TGA method I just showed you and you'll have first-rate results. You don't have to learn AVI recording. Otherwise, you better listen to the disadvantages first. The biggest one is with the source engine itself. When the source engine saves to an AVI file, it uses an outdated method that prevents you from having a file larger than 2 gigabytes before it corrupts. Now you can recover files larger than that in VirtualDub, but it also prevents you from having a file larger than 4 gigabytes, period. I pointed out earlier that a 17-second clip we recorded was over 700 megs. That compression can buy you a lot of time, but you can probably see how this could be a problem, especially if you record at higher resolutions. Another disadvantage is that for this version of the source engine and older, the engine will change your frame rate to something other than it's supposed to be. Now it still records at the frame rate you want, just that you have to adjust the final setting for the AVI. It's not a big deal, just an extra step. This bug does seem to be fixed using the Episode 2 engine, however, but for Episode 1 it still needs to be corrected manually. Finally, if you're using XVID, which in my opinion is the highest quality lossy encoding method that's compatible with the source engine, it simply doesn't like some resolutions. I found that recording at some resolutions in XVID will crash the game every time. It's really weird which ones it likes too. I'll go into more details on that when I get to XVID recording. Okay, let's learn how to record with Huffy UV.